movements are, like most of Torval's works, are caricatures or picture esque works. The first being in the tradition of the Spanish fandango, the second being a very lyrical love song, and the third being a very basic dance. The next piece on the program is Johann Sebastian Bach's Second Suite in A minor. This suite is different than his other dance suites in that the four typical dance movements are only narrowed down to two, so he only includes a sarabande and a gigue. It starts off with a prelude and a very dense fugue that follows, which is very uncharacteristic of a dance suite. And it ends with a double, which can be simply put as the gigue, but with just a whole bunch more notes in it, just to make it harder for the player. So I hope you enjoy the second suite.
Hello, everybody. We are here live on twitch.tv/guitarshredder. We're on YouTube, and we are on TikTok. Today is going to be very different stream for me because my whole entire setup has changed for the beginning of this stream. This will be the first time that I'm doing it. I kind of was testing it out and getting it going throughout. Seems to be working, but we're gonna try this because apparently, for me to do what I want to do, I lose access to my two main monitors, and I can't change that, which is annoying. But let's go ahead on over. Let's see what happens if I do this. Oh, look at that! Ooh, look what we have here. All right, so look at this. Let's see what it looks like on. Like, I have no screens open. Can I do this? Can I do that? Oh, I can do that. Now this is the real test. Oh. All right, I can actually keep this open. What just happened? I know, right? Look at this. So that means that I didn't need to keep. All right, well that's a thing. Okay, so this is what we got going on today. This will ultimately be in two parts. Let's see what it looks like on YouTube, because I don't know if the vertical. I guess the vertical stream looks okay. Hey, I'm glad you're looking forward to the workshop. Literally, hi, Rocky. So I think it should be looking good, but feedback is always appreciated. On the YouTube side of things, definitely let me know how things are looking. This will be uploaded again. This will be re-uploaded as a horizontal video, though, for everybody. So the Twitch feed will come up on as a YouTube video, so you don't have to worry about that. But let's get ourselves started. Okay, so Papa Shredder, what's up, Gee? How you doing? So a little bit of this was supposed to be our hello, Rocky. Of course, Rocky, you're coming to say hi, buddy. This guy. May I help you? I'm trying to be a professional. Sir? Sir. Like, immediately. Immediately. I am 3 minutes into having this screen up. Yes, I know, Rocky. Alright. Okay. Okay. Yes. Rocky. Ow. Go over there. Unhinge. Stop it. If I bring your cat tree closer. Go. No, not on my shoulder. Not on my shoulder. This is the reason why it takes me 2 hours to get anything done. Rocky. Nope. Stop it. On the cat tree. Alright. Okay. Stop it! Stop it! Jeez. it's as if you've never had attention before. All right. So again, feedback on how it looks on the stream, how the overlays are working, always appreciated. The one thing that I didn't take into account was like vertical streaming versus horizontal streaming, and so I don't know if I don't know how easily this can be seen, but let me go onto my phone and see what happens. All right. Oh, we'll go to the TikTok stream. Why not? TikTok, do you not know that I'm streaming? Did the TikTok stream get canceled? What's going on? It says it's up. There we go. All right. Oh no, that looks good. That looks great. Awesome. We're good. All right. Stop it, Rocky. Pete's down. All right. Stop. Dude. Okay. Ow. No. Stop. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. Let me actually do a real intro and get ourselves going. This cat. Okay. Oh, wait. There's a swap display setting? Did I miss a... Hold on. I'm not going to mess with it now. We're committed. Okay. All right. How did that get back? All right. Let's go back to here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first of... Well, I got to slate it, right? This is what I get for having like everybody watch me do a YouTube video, by the way. All right. Welcome everyone to our Saturday workshop, the first one of 2025. Today we are talking about music mastery, memory, mastering musical memory. A holistic approach to memorization. So we're going to go through, and this is ultimately going to become at least a two-parter. As I was putting the workshop together, I realized that it was a much bigger topic than just us having one Saturday workshop on it. So we're going to go through. All right. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Transitions. Okay. So, I wanted to start off with a little bit of a journey of mine that I went through with memorization. Memorization has been something I've talked about it on stream as well, where it's been a challenge or was a challenge for me, especially when I was younger. I've always had problems with memorizing, especially complex music, more like contrapuntal music, and just music that was more than just like a melody or simple bass line or chords and melody sort of thing. I remember very notable experiences of memory issues. Probably one of my first ones that I had was I was playing the first movement of the Vivaldi Concerto with my high school orchestra, and if you don't know the piece, about halfway through the first page, there's a section where it's just like low strings and then the guitar doing the melody and solo and everything. And I had a complete memory slip, what I call a black hole, right? To the point of where I didn't know where I was, I didn't know what the notes were, and the group is still going, and probably the sheer look of panic in my face. The conductor didn't know what to do. Luckily, sort of something went off in my head, and I kind of caught back where the orchestra was, and I was able to continue. But it was definitely a crash and burn moment. So that was one that was very, very etched in my mind. And I've had other memory issues, and really a journey on developing my memorization skills and technique. So, one of the biggest things is that I would always get advice on memorization. I would be told, well, you just needed to practice more. You know, you want to visualize the music and see it, whatever that meant. I was even given advice to like rewrite it on a separate sheet of manuscript paper. Um, so, you know, I've gotten all sorts of different pieces of advice, but looking back on it, they were more so not how to create a solution or a method to get the solution, but really just like you should be able to do these things. And one of the biggest things that I realized is that no amount of practice, no amount of playing the same thing over and over again actually got. This is Rocky. Bros. Oh my god. No amount of actual practice or repeats made it more secure for me. I'd always have memory slips going through. So what is memory in music? And I think a big thing is that it's more than just like playing without the sheet music in front of you. Memory is the process of recalling what was learned. The full definition, the power or process of reproducing or recalling what has been learned and retained, especially through associative mechanisms. Okay. So when we think of playing music without the sheet music, that is a very simple perspective of what memory is and what's involved in it. And it is much more complex and much more sophisticated than just not playing with music in front of you. So this is a relatively simplified version of it, but this is the process of memory. You take something that you are being given. We could think of the sheet music, the music in front of us. You want to encode it, store it, and then retrieve it. The information this is done, excuse me, while this is a basic understanding, this is a process that we go through whenever we learn anything, get a piece of information, or if we learn a skill. So again, recalling the definition of memory, the power or process of reproducing and recalling what is learned and retained. And then we think and apply that to how to successfully memorize a piece. It's going to be much more than just not having the sheet music in front of us. And this is where a more holistic approach to internalizing the music comes from. There are 4 essential types of memory that musicians deal with when they are actively memorizing a piece or memorizing their music. The first thing is their physical memory. This is what and where and how your fingers move on the instrument to produce the sound needed. I would first say that all of this is being viewed from the lens of a classical guitarist, although these things can be slightly modified to suit your musical instrument if you are not a classical guitarist. Physical memory is probably the most common thought of idea when we think of memory. It's pretty much your muscle memory. And it's about developing coordination of physically playing the notes, the rhythms, dynamics, tone, color, shifts, and remembering how to physically do those. We typically work through this by drilling out problem areas in the music, and just playing something helps you develop your muscle memory. The second essential memory type is aural memory. This is your ability to hear what is right versus what is wrong, or rather that ability uses the aural memory skill. Pitch, rhythm, tone, color, dynamics, articulations, and so much more. And I think of my Suzuki training when I talk about aural memory for memorizing music, because there was in my training early on, they emphasize the idea of listening to your music, listening to the piece that you are working on, because in the Suzuki training for a student, they aren't learning to read music first. They're learning through being introduced to techniques and skills, and then listening and recreating, so mimicry, much like how a young child will learn how to speak and talk and communicate. And so one of the sayings, or one of the points that they often make is, it's quite hard to learn a piece that you don't know what it sounds like, right? So if I've never heard a piece ever, and that's the only skill that I'm using, which is my oral memory, can't really learn it because you have nothing to compare it to. On the other side of things, teaching more traditionally, students get really frustrated when they don't know the song, when they have to just use sheet music or even tablature to try and play something. Listening to the pieces that you're playing is a great opportunity to start working on that skill, to make yourself familiar with it. But also listening and being mindful in that moment of what you are creating on your instrument, and thinking critically. We want to develop a skill that is called audiation, which is the ability to hear the sound in our minds. Moving on, analytical memory is. I wonder, can. What? I'm getting distracted now. Sorry. What's that? Whoa. Okay. Okay. There's lots of buttons that I just started looking at. I'm going to ignore them for now. Your analytical memory is how the notes relate to one another through phrases, through motives, through rhythmical similarities, through sections, how they create chords, how they interact with one another, one line interacting with another, all to tell the musical story that the composer is trying to create. Known as analysis, this proves the importance of knowing and understanding music theory. And a lot of times theory is taught off to the side of your instrument. And so a lot of students, when they haven't had the applied skill of theory, a form and analysis class, understanding why you need to know music theory becomes really difficult. The more information you gather and observe, the more you know and understand the piece. As your knowledge grows, so will your experience, and they can relate to one another, and you can pull things in as you learn and go through different pieces. Visual memory, which is the final one, and this is the one that sort of often eluded me when I was a student. Visual memory is mentally seeing the score and or patterns of playing on the actual instrument. Oftentimes teachers will talk about the mind's eye, and and that was one of those things that for me was always difficult. I never had a clear visual of what I was doing in my mind. It was always kind of like I would just throw my fingers around and hope that they hit the right notes, sort of thing. I think an important thing to note is that what you visualize will depend on the type of player you are. If you're one that started off from a very pattern-based playing, maybe lots of different chord shapes and scale shapes, didn't really do a whole lot of reading notation, as you develop that skill, it'll be more so of something that still relates to the shapes rather than to the notes on the page. That is equally as useful as seeing the notes on the page in your mind's eye. All that matters is that you are seeing something. So now that we kind of established our groundwork, now it's about like, what do guitarists actually need when we memorize music, right? So we need to know the right hand and left hand fingerings, the assigned ones that we give them or that have been given. We need to know our phrases. We need to know the sections, the dynamics of how we're moving through something, the harmony, the tempo. Along with all those things, we need to be able to play each voice on its own, know it, be able to either play and sing it, play or sing it, or isolate it just on its own. The melody, the bass, the middle voices. We need to be able to do all of those things because we're in charge of all those things as a solo instrument. We need to know our phrases as isolated passages. and we need to be able to play through the piece fully from beginning to end. I think the first thing that when I lay all that stuff out, everybody's immediate reaction is, wow, that's a lot of information. And I would say, yeah, it absolutely is. But just because it's a lot of information doesn't mean you don't work on it. Doesn't mean that it's not present in the music that you learn. This is where finding a piece that is appropriate for your level is important. It's not just your technical level, but it's what you're able to process. So we talked about the 4 types of memory. We talked about all the things that as guitarists we need to know. I think ultimately, why does all of this matter? So this matters because we are only as good as our weakest link, and one missing element can ultimately lead to a major failure of all different elements, depending on how crucial it is. Secure and confident playing will come from integrating all these types of memories, making sure that you have understanding of all the things that you need to know to be successful. Most of the time, problems will occur because a random mistake will happen in a performance, and it can be easily written off as a mistake of the moment versus a mistake due to lack of information or diligence in practicing. So it's important to be able to identify those two things. Was this really just a spur of the moment mistake, or is this something that I am deficient in my practice? Most of the time, the way that students will take this is they will say, well, it's never happened in my practice, so therefore it's not really a problem. And they just assume that there's no problem. And then they go to play again, and it's a mistake again. It's a problem again. That's a whole mindset issue that is related to this, but not something that we're going to tackle today. The one thing that I would say is always better safe than sorry, right? You get feedback in your lesson or from a performance, and you don't just assume that there's no problem. You just double check to make sure that you have what you need. Worst case scenario is that it confirms that you do know what's going on in that passage. But best case scenario is you find a problem that you didn't realize in your practice, and then you can readjust and retarget an area in your practice. I would also, before we move on, I would also be really mindful that while this is talking about memory, these things exist whether or not you are going to play from sheet music, right? So the idea of memorization, memorizing a piece so you don't need the aid of another visual guide, versus remembering how to play a passage are not the same thing. So when you're learning a piece, a lot of these things can matter. Like if you're not actively memorizing your music to play without sheet music, these things still matter to you. And I think that's where people get confused when they start talking about the idea of sight reading versus playing from heart, right? Or playing without music. There is sort of like this in between. So I think even if you're not going to actively memorize your music, a lot of these skills can also be applied to your practice as well. So we're going to talk about each one of these memory types and how we tend to address working on them, right? So I think physical practice or your muscle memory or kinesthetic practice, however you want to think of it, like this is where a whole lot of our practice strategies come in to help us, right? Isolation practice, where you choose a phrase, a measure, a part of a measure, a motive, and you troubleshoot it, work it out, and then drill out the solution. And then this is great for initial learning of material. This is great for developing memory, right? Especially physical memory. It's great for troubleshooting and problem solving. especially when there's a physical problem that you are encountering. Chaining practice, or I call it chunk practice, is similar to isolation practice, but like you grow out the section, right? So for instance, I'll work on the first measure, and once I can get that working the way that I want to, I'll work on the second measure. Once I get that working the way that I want to, I'll put those two together, and I'll be able to play through measures 1 and 2. And then I'll work on measure 3, put measure 3 together, and I'm creating a chain of measures that will ultimately be my phrase or my music. Again, this is great for initially learning a piece of music. It's great for reinforcing other ideas and other learned material over the course of a single or multiple practice sessions. And it's also great for working out transitions as you try and pinpoint getting from one section to another of the piece. Slow fast practice is another one that we hear all of the time. And it's great for developing speed, but it can also be a great tool for just playing a passage that feels cumbersome or straining, right? Hello, Rocky. He's back again. So when you are, most of the time when we encounter something that is troublesome or that is straining, this a lot of times comes from not being familiar with what needs to happen to be successful. And your brain just tries to play it too fast because it's a little bit of it's a defense mechanism. It's an uncomfortable situation, a little bit of fight or flight happening, and you're just trying to get away from the perceived danger. And so slowing things down, giving your brain the chance to process what's going on, reinforcing proper moves, and then playing it fast to test to see if your practice was actually productive or not. Go, cat. I'm going to kick you out of the room. Nope. Go. Sorry. So, and playing... So let's try that again, just so that way it's a complete thought. So slow and fast practice is great to slow things down, allow your brain to process what's happening, what's going on, apply solutions to areas, and then the fast playing becomes your test. Did I actually work on it in a way, that is successful? And there's lots of different ways of doing slow and fast practice. Aural practice strategies, we talked about this a little bit. The first one is listening. You got to listen to your music that you're working on. I think it's such an underrated thing. When I was playing more rock music and in metal bands, and even when I get a gig where I'm doing a musical or something, I will listen to the music that I'm going to be playing. So that way I become familiar with it if I am not already familiar with it. So nowadays we can compile playlists on Spotify or YouTube, have your favorite performances, and or ones that your teacher approves of the performance. I think approved is a strong word, but that's the one that I used apparently. I do think it's important to listen to, if you are working with a teacher, using their guidance to help curate what a good performance is in their mind. So that way you are getting the most out of your lessons, but also don't be afraid to say, well, I like this version, even if the teacher has other opinions of it. Listen to it regularly and dedicate time over the course of each week to review them. You can go much further with this and take time to identify similarities and differences within each performance, each performer's take on it. Try and find out why you like a certain performance, why you didn't like another. Have conversations with your teachers or friends about this, and use it as a way to enhance your understanding and appreciation of the piece, rather than just, I'm listening to music, right? It's a little bit more of an active way of listening. Singing is super important. we use our voice as the tool to help us go from the internalized aspect of what we think should be happening and what we think we are doing to what is actually happening on our instrument. And so we internalize the pitch, we internalize the rhythm, and it gives us feedback for it. Okay? It's great for developing your inner ear, for audiation practice, training your ears to hear correct verses, incorrect playing, and rhythms. Okay? So that way you can start to hold yourself accountable to those aspects of your playing. Analysis or analytical practice strategies. Harmonic and structural analysis, that's like my form and analysis class from college. Identifying motives, phrases, sections of the piece, do a harmonic analysis of the piece, relate it to the music theory information that you know. If you need to, create a second copy of that piece, literally just to analyze and mark it up. So that way you can write all over it, put in your analytical markings, and not worry about the music that you're working from overwhelming you. This is great for understanding the parts of the piece, what belongs together, knowing the harmony, understanding its progression through the piece, the sections, the phrases, etc. Playing and working in isolated phrases and sections. This is very similarly. This is very comparable to the idea of chunk practice or isolation practice. The idea here is to focus on playing a specific passage and use the beginnings and ends of these sections to create mental markers for yourself to jump to if there's a reason to make that jump. Great for recovering from a performance issue. The knowledge of the piece to know where you are and where you can go to. Very helpful. Now, I feel like... No, this makes sense. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why it's a different... Okay. I got distracted completely. Sorry. This is visualization practice strategies. I don't know why it says boosting visual memory. That's a mistake on my end. So again, before we start getting directly into developing visualization, I want to just sort of go over what I was told that I needed to have for visualization, right? I need to visualize the music. It's definition within the definition. That kind of irks me. I was told that I needed to see the music. I needed to see the score in my head. And that I should be able to write it out in places, on separate sheet music. While this is all great in terms of an end product, it doesn't tell you how to develop the skill of visualization. And so what was always missing for me was a step-by-step process that I can use. Okay? How do I develop a mind's eye for the score? What things should I be paying attention to, both physically and orally within the piece? Oh, there we go. So this is where, for me, there's one simple answer and then we'll go into the actual approach. But singing letter names is my strategy for visualization. Okay? Full disclosure, okay, up front at the very beginning, this was the strategy that put everything together for me. About 3 or 4 years of just being frustrated with not being able to consistently have a piece memorized. All came together, crystallized by singing my letter names. So I have a lot of bias towards this. I went through this personally, and it single-handedly single-handedly helped me overcome a lot of the struggles that I encountered when I was performing. Whether it was in a lesson or whether it was in front of people. Do I need to... So, singing letter names. That is the answer. You can stop right now. You guys can leave. Sing your letter names. All right. But let's go into it a little bit more. Be able to do this for your motives, phrases, your sections, the full piece, every single voice that you encounter in the piece. I like to practice this way with the score in front of me, so that way I make a connection between what I see on the page and what I am playing on the instrument and what I am internalizing in my mind. Singing also lets you know if you are hearing something correctly versus incorrectly. Again, audiation. And that the sounds that you're creating on your instrument are correct for the most part. Again, we're not looking for expert singing or anything like that. I use it more so for with students when they're starting, more rhythmical aspects. Depending on your level of playing and your level of knowledge, it may be extremely complicated, difficult, and overwhelming. But to me, this is the S-tier strategy of practice. It brings all three of the non-physical the non-physical memory types together in one process. And I'm always a less is more kind of guy. I'm singing pitches, therefore I'm developing audiation. There's my aural understanding, my aural memory. I am singing, therefore it forces me to think about how big of a breath I'm going to take. And I look now at phrases and passages and where they are and what makes sense musically. I also use this to separate out ideas. I use this to figure out phrasing of is the music settling down or becoming more suspenseful. And I just internalize what's going on musically in the piece. It forces me to identify how to shape a line, the natural rise and fall of music. Where are we getting more intense? Where are we relaxing? When you sing, the pitch resonates in your chest cavity. And this resonance, for me, is your musicality, right? The more intense you feel that resonance, that vibration, the more intense the music usually is. And then as it decreases, the less intense it is. Where are you getting louder? Where are you getting softer? How can you now apply that to your instrument? Where do you change the tone of your voice to express a musical concept? This is getting way more into more nuanced aspects, right? But because I'm doing this with the notes in front of me, I am making that connection between pitch, notation, and location on the guitar, where all of those things come together. Come on. There we go. No. Now it is. All right. So now here we are at the meat and potatoes of everything. Developing visualization, a systematic approach. This, full disclosure again, this comes directly from my former professor, Richard Provost, The Art and Technique of Practice. It says arts, but it should just be art. That is a typo. When you're developing your visualization, okay, spend up to 10 to 30 minutes on the skills as you go through. For me personally, I started working on this in college. So I already had probably over 10 years of playing experience on the guitar. I had 3 years of music theory classes. I had 3 years of ear training classes. I had met all my music history requirements. And so I was in an immersive musical environment. And so for me, this was one of the last things that I needed to do. And I had a lot of prerequisite skills that I could call upon. You might not be in the same position. And so when we go through the process, we're going to go through this process specifically of how to get you from nothing to something. Okay? And this systematic approach, you have to be patient with it. You have to just allow it to happen. And that's why devoting separate time away from your normal practice routine of what you would cover becomes really helpful and important. So, whoops, I clicked the button. Oh no. Here we go. So stage 1A is all about musical fragments. What we're looking to do is we're looking to play and sing, not plan and sing, with the sheet music, then without, and then finally with what we're internally hearing, and we'll go through that. So let's start. Now we get to some more applied things. So we're going to go to the first example. Okay. And what we want to do here, our focus is now going to be on knowing what the names of those notes are and ultimately putting the picture into our head of what it sounds like, what it looks like, and where it is on the guitar. Okay? So the first thing that we want to do is we just want to think about these pitches, the first two. Okay? Ooh, maybe I can use, oops, this. Whoa, no. Trying to get a little zoom in here. Here we go. Look. Oh, there we go. That's awesome. All right. So we've got C. For those who don't know, this is C and D. Okay. And so the first thing that I'm going to think of is where are these notes on my guitar? And I know that the C note is on the second string, first fret, and I know that my D is on my second string, third fret. And I use my first finger and third finger accordingly. As I play and sing these notes, I am going to now watch the sheet music and sort of create this connection, right? So I'm going to go C, D, right? And you want to repeat that until you're comfortable. C, D. And then once you're confident with it, now we're going to take the music away from us. I'm just going to close my eyes for this, right? And I want to mentally visualize what those notes look like on the staff, right? I want to mentally visualize where they are on the guitar. I want to visualize how I'm going to play each note, what finger in the hand I'm going to do each one with, and I'm going to play this while singing the pitches, right? So, C, D. As I'm doing that, all that information that I just laid out was right there. Again, repeating this until I'm confident. Now, the next step is for us to be doing this, but mentally hearing these things in our mind, right? So I'm going to hear the pitches while I play. I'm going to mentally visualize what they look like on the staff. I'm going to mentally visualize where the notes are located on the guitar, and I'm going to mentally visualize how I play each one, right? While hearing the pitches and thinking of the letter names as I'm playing. Pretty straightforward, and what I would say is, again, I say start with 2 to 5 note melodic fragments because you don't want it to be overwhelming. You want it to be relatively simple with something that you know. Here's just some examples of like where you could go with all of this, right? And then example 4 is ultimately that full expression of it, right? So what you want to do with each one of these is just to, ideally using something that randomly generates notes for you would be really, really helpful. In the Discord, I will put some links for some resources that you could do for developing note identification, randomly generated melodic sources, and then ultimately we're going to go into some rhythm work as well. So as with stage 1A, right? So as you continue to expand, you can add rhythms to this. And now you do all of the same things that you would do with memorizing the pitches, but you then include doing that with the rhythm. Okay? Again, depending on your comfort level with the rhythms, right? Start off really simple. Start off with beat rhythms, which are what I just call notes that are a beat or longer in value. And then start with 3/4 and 4/4 examples just to keep things easy, because that's what you're pretty much going to most usually see in your music at first, especially if you haven't done a whole lot of this and you're working through it. So I have just 2 little examples, literally using that little C scale that we created. And each one of these, I would go through with my letter names. I would say, okay, so I've got C, D, E, I've got an F, I've got G, I've got an F, I've got an E, I've got a D, and a C. I'm looking at the first line. I would go through all of those and be able to go C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. Just playing through the notes, making sure that I know what those notes are and that I see them in the sheet music and I know what my fingers are doing. Then I would do isolated rhythm work. Clap out the rhythm of each passage. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I even messed that up. Look at that. I am not infallible. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You'd think I would be better at this, right? Let's try it one more time. 3rd time's a charm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then progress to doing it on just an open string, right? You want to get the right hand involved in this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you can play and count the rhythm as written, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm reading the music as I do all of it. And now I'm going to do it without the music. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And between you and me, that was actually pretty difficult to do because I haven't rehearsed these at all. So using my memory, at some point while I was doing that, I'm like, okay, remember, this is just a scale going up to G and coming back down, 1 note at a time. You're not skipping over any. I already saw that in the music. So as I was doing this, I was telling that to myself. I was trying to really visualize the rhythm because that's what I was counting. That's what I was focused on. So those skills were being worked on in the background of my own head. You would think that this would be really easy. And it is, but in the moment where I was put to the test of it, it was like that stuff's flashing in my mind as I'm doing all these things. Now, because it's so underneath my playing level, I'm able to process all of those things at once, right? Which is why it's important to do this stuff not with your most difficult piece or even your current piece. If you've never done skills like this before, do it with really simple stuff, okay? And you would apply the same thing to the example 6. All right. The final stage is now just getting an understanding of the notes and the fingers that you are using to play. So at the top is a C major scale. That's example 7. Example 8 is how I would practice that C scale, half of it. But then you would do the same thing for the second half, right? So what you want to do is you want to know, you can apply this to any scale that you are currently working on, or any scale that you currently know. The idea is that we're making a mental map of where these notes are located on the fretboard, right? And we're using typical left-hand fingering to execute them. As you become more advanced and more experienced with music, obviously left-hand fingering becomes much more personal, and the decisions are much more complicated than just what position you're in or what key you're in. However, I found that by really knowing these foundational elements, making more custom decisions are actually easier to do. So start with a scale that you know really well, that you have memorized already. So we're not trying to memorize this. We should already have it memorized. C scale is one of the first scales that anybody learns, so that's why I picked it. So we're going to play it slowly, singing the letter names, as well as the left-hand finger numbers associated to each note. Do this with the music in front of you, just like we would work on it at stage 1A, but go through it with including the idea of finger numbers, right? I would say a great way to break this up is to focus first on just the ascending part of the scale, then on the descending scale, then putting them together. As you can do that comfortably with one scale, then you move on to other scales. Again, continuing with the processes that you've been given. So for C major, it would sound like this. C, 3, D, open, E, 2, F, 3, G, open. That is not E, that is an A. A, 2, B, open, C, 1. Look at that mistake there. That's okay. So, I'm even trying to figure out how I got... Oh, because I just copy-pasted that. Okay, that makes sense. That's just a mistake. So that should be A. Okay. You do the same thing coming down, and then you put it all together. I always have my students do this. I have, for instance, even my Suzuki students, before they're even reading music, they're doing their little one-octave scales, and I'm having them practice it that way. G1, A2, B, open, C1, D3, E, open, F sharp, 2, G1, 4, and so on and so forth. Especially students who are having difficulty remembering the order of what and how they should be playing. So there's stage 1, right? Stage 1 is all about just developing and working on the actual skill set that you're going to need, right? If you're going to be singing letter names, you need to be able to sing letter names while playing. And if you haven't done that before, doing that with your most advanced piece is super difficult. So now we get to stage 2. Stage 2, we're now bringing these ideas to a simple 2-part texture, okay? We want to analyze the excerpt, making sure we understand the phrases, the motives, the outlined chords, if applicable. Sing and play your melody alone, sing and play the bass alone, and then ultimately combine the parts. So what I have here is a little, the first phrase of a piece by Johann Furman, I believe is his first name. This is Tons. And so the first thing, like I said, that we want to do is we want to analyze the excerpt, identify and mark any motives or phrases that you notice. So for me, one of the first things that I notice here is this rhythmical motive of a half note to a quarter note. And that happens a whole bunch, right? Another motive that I see is just having a dotted half note for the measure. That happens for the rest. And then in the bass, I notice that it's just quarter notes the whole time. So I see all of those things, okay? I also notice here, and let's use a different color. I like blue. I see a little repetition happening here between the A and the F. Also, by marking those out, I also see a midpoint in the piece, right? So we've outlined some, and we even have some scale patterns too. Look at that. Here's a scale going down, whoop, and then we go back up. Right, little scale patterns there. Okay. These are all ways to help us understand what we're going to be doing, right? And I would mark them out. You mark it out in the way that is best for you. Again, having your own second version of the piece to write on, because as you can see, like it gets really messy really quickly, right? So now what we're going to do, so that would be step one, analyze the piece. And, you know, you analyze to what you're comfortable doing, okay? You don't have to analyze further if you don't see some of these things naturally. That's okay. You know, you do the best that you can, and hopefully you can, you know, get some feedback from somebody to where you can then apply some of the new ideas to newer parts. The next step is to sing and play the melody alone. And so we're going to take a phrase and we're going to play it and sing it. And this is where I want you to be mindful of what your own personal limitations are and make and alter the amount of music that you use as needed, right? So maybe I'm feeling really good. I look at this and I say, you know what? I think I can do this whole entire thing. I think I can do this whole thing. Look at how easy it is, right? And I'm going through and I'm playing the notes and I'm going D, C sharp, B, A, D, C sharp, F sharp. Oh, it's getting a little hard. A, oh, you know, make a mistake. Oh, okay, maybe that's too much. And so maybe instead of trying to do the whole thing, maybe I go back to my little, say, okay, let's take that much. That seemed to be pretty good. Or I can go even smaller and do this much. Or I could even do this much. The one thing that I would say is this. As you are working, don't end at the end of a measure. If you're going to go one measure at a time or two measures at a time, always go to the first note of the next measure. Okay? Always go there. Because what we want to do is we want to develop, again, we want to start building chains. And notice the overlapping note here, right? The overlapping note helps the connection from one to another. So now, oh, I didn't realize I had a laser pointer here. Okay. So let's just say I'm going to do the first, I'll do the first phrase. I do let students continue till the end of a phrase because I think that's a very natural place to end. So we would end there, right? And so I'm going to sing the melody alone. D, C, B. Let's do the sharps. D, C sharp, B, A, D, E, F. Right? And I want to get comfortable with that. And just as I did with, the smaller stage one practices, I want to get comfortable with it. I want to know where my notes are. I want to be able to visualize it, all that kind of stuff, right? But right now, I just want to get comfortable saying the notes and playing them. That's all I'm worried about right now. So now I'll go on to doing the bass alone. Now, the thing that I notice about the bass, and this is where analysis can be helpful, my bass is the same 3 notes over and over again. So, man, that's really easy. And they're open strings. Oh, that's awesome. D, A, D, D, A, D, D, A, D, D, A, D. Ta-da. So now I know what those things are, right? I know what each one of those are. Now, I'm going to focus on doing both parts together. I'm going to sing the melody, but I am going to focus on the melody and sing just the melody, but I am going to put both together. I'm looking to see what syncs up and just understand what's happening. So in this case, now as I start to make it more complicated for me, I might say, all right, let's do just the here. That's a lot of stuff to do. So as I'm playing, right, D, C, B, and some observations that I certainly make from there is that I see that my first note and my second note of the melody line up with the first and third note of the bass. Same thing here. Gives us a chance to sort of put those things together and develop that coordination. As I'm doing that and as I get comfortable with that, where I can pay attention, D, C sharp, B, and that's working. Now, I want to start hearing how these things interact with one another. So, as I'm playing, and this is where a little bit of theory can come in, this, that C sharp is an important note because that's our leading tone, right? And we're going to feel that, like, the music gets more intense. C, let's try that again. D, C, B, right? So D, C, B. We can hear that even though it's going down, there's some spice on that note. That note's a little spicy. Observe what you're doing dynamically. Continue singing out loud and internally checking to see if what you've been experiencing verbally matches how you're playing. You go through. So then I would do the next one, right? Oh, not to there. That's a mistake. Right, and then I would go to here. So we get B, A, D. Hear that A go up to D. That's your sol, do, for those who know. And then I'll put those together. D, C, B, A, D. There's a sort of winding and arrival that happens there, right? D, C, B, A, D. And then I get D, E, F. Right? I go through the whole entire piece to where I can do the whole thing. D, C, B, A, D, E, F. I don't know why I'm looking on my other monitor. It's right here. Let's do that again. D, C, B, A, D, E, F, A, F, A, F. Right? Really listening to how those things interact together and just be in the moment of observing. And it's okay if you just are like, okay, those are the notes. That's it, right? That's fine too. We can pay attention then to the right hand fingering, right? So I haven't decided on my right hand fingering, but I could. Let's see very quickly. We'll start on I. This will be M. That'll be I. M. I. M. I. Already I don't like that because I've got a whole bunch of bad string crossings, so we're gonna redo that. And we're going to actually start on M. So yeah, we'll get a bad string crossing here, but everything else is going to be great. And so now with my right hand fingering, and just to clarify, we've already worked on the left hand fingering by singing and playing the notes on their own. So that has already happened, right? The right hand is really something that we haven't discussed yet as its own thing. So now we're going to do... just making sure that I'm doing that stuff. And then I'm going to sing it. I'm going to do all of that, but with my bass line now. So that was steps 4, 5, and 6, and we're gonna just repeat that for step 7, but with the bass, right? So D, D, A, 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 D. That's really hard because I've actually never really done that because I sort of just put that on autopilot. But it's a good exercise to do. To like pay attention and be like, all right, so D, D, A, 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 D. Really great in just sort of separating out your brain a little bit as you're doing that. Then you can work on balancing the voices. Here, I think we all can agree that this guy is going to be loud, and this one is going to be soft, right? And so here we're going to go. I want to make sure that that's working really well. I want to hear the melody as a distinct voice with its own notes and its own sustain, acting independently of the bass. And now this is all of those 8 steps are about creating comfort, confidence, and consistency of your playing. Now you go to mental visualization, right? Where now you take, and so that could all be within like 1 or 2 days of practicing this phrase, and you're gaining all of this ability and confidence in playing. And then what you do is you shift over and you devote some time to practicing these skills and focusing on the visualization, creating what it is in your mind. Right, as you go through. And when you go from one day to the next, the first thing that you have to do is you have to review all of these things. You have to make sure all of these things are here before you start adding new measures, new notes to stuff. So as you go through the process, you're going to find out when you've done too much and when you've done too little. Hold on, we gotta. As we go through. So now, moving on, we go to the third stage, which is contrapuntal textures, more complex and advanced voices. Here we have to understand that we have multiple voices that are independent from each other. Visualizing the melodic shape of the bass line, especially because the bass line now does a thing, and recognizing vertical patterns, chordal patterns that are created between this. And that gets factored into our practice. So with the same thing, okay, this is a passage from a movement of a musical pastime arranged for guitar. And here we can take the same steps. And it's going to be relatively similar to what we did with the tons, but here I would argue this is going to happen in much smaller pieces, right? So again, I've kind of already done the first part, which is the analyzing of the phrase. This is the whole phrase going to here, okay, with a little separation there, okay. And now, as we're going, right, I don't even have any fingering here to play it. But I'm going to just focus on this first piece right here. I can immediately say, like, I do not want to try to do this whole thing with everything. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm just going to do that much, right? And so let's go ahead. We'll zoom in. Zoop. There we go. I'm just going to do that much, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I am going to, we'll start with just the melody, right? I want to get used to the melody. D, A, 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 B, D, A, 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 B, C, D. Do that much. Let's see, how am I going to, now I have to take into consideration the lower line, right? D, C, D, C, A, D. So this is where I have to start making some fingering decisions. All right. I'll play this with 1. This will be with 3. As I'm doing this. Actually, that's going to be with 4, not 3. I'm going to use 3. Yeah, 2. Jeez. Okay. Now at that moment, I'm going to move to 7th position. And I know I'm going to do 1, 3, 4 there. All right, let's go back to here. Whoop. All right. So now I've got a basic left-hand fingering. I have no clue what the right hand is doing. I'm not there yet, right? And so now I'll just do D, A, B, C, D. That worked. Okay. Again, get it comfortable. D, A, B, C, D. Okay. Now, we can bring in some more, again, listening to tone tendencies. Bum, 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 bum. Here's our Latino, da, 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 right into there. Hold on 1 second. Oh, that's going to get small just for a moment. Okay. You can do the bass on its own, right? D, C, D, which we already did. Now we can focus on singing the melody on top with everything. D, A, B, C, D. Right. So now we're in those steps 4 through 6, right? We can listen to some tone tendencies. We're in the key of D major. Right? Has sort of this, definitely a little bit of a march-like quality to it and everything. As we go through, listen to it with the notes. Okay. So we see a basic shape of us moving upwards. Bum, 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 ba, da, dum. Even though these guys, those 5 A's are static, we are definitely going from low to high here, right? And so I want to bring that out as I'm going through. I'm going to do the same thing with the bass, right? So D, C, B, C, D, C, B, C, A, D, D, C, B, C, A, D. Right? As we go through, same kind of things. We get the bum, dee, dum, ba, dee, da, dee, dum. That has its own phrasing to it as well. So now together comes in there. And because we're dealing with counterpoint, we want to balance these voices. We want to hear that separation there as well. And then ultimately having it visualized, right? Where now I'm going to play it and we'll do letter names of the top. D, A, B, C, D. Do letter names at the bottom. D, C, B, C, A, D. And now all those things are coming back as I go through. So now we go on to a more harmonic texture. Okay. This is dealing with chords. I think what's important is to make sure that you treat every note of the chord equally important. Okay. Sing each note separately, then put them together, focusing on the balance of the voices for a clear performance as you go through. And so again, as I'm working through hello, there we go. So this is the Milan Pavan number 1. I tried to pick something where the voices are consistent throughout, right? Where we're getting 4 voices the whole time, where we can track. Like, think of it like a choir, right? So here's the soprano. Bum. And so you go through that one, then you go. There we go. That's a weird one. Because now at this moment here, we have to decide what our notes are doing. Right? So if you've seen me practice emergence at all, this is a wonderful example of that. So for me, I don't know why I did that. I think that the E and the C converge on the D, which is a common thing to happen. The alto and the soprano come together. So as I'm playing this, you know, pom 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 pom, and then dum dum pom 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 pom. That's that next one, right? And then we get we get to the third voice. G G A G G A G A G A G G, right? Going through that, I don't even know. G G A G G A G A G G G G. There we go. And the bass line, C E F C E F C F. Oh, I'm in drop D. Haha, it only took me forever to figure that out. C E F C E F C F C B A G G. Right? As we go through. And then you want to put them together, listening to each voice, and you can sing them as you play. E G F E G F E F E D C D B. You do the second one. C C C C C C C C C C D B B. Then the third one. G G A G G A G A G G G G. Or actually, G D G D G D D. That's where that one's going. So that's a weird. So there's another weird issue that happens here too that we didn't talk about, which is, whoops. With that section, like, what's happening here? Is this A going down to G and then that A going up to D? I don't think so, right? B A B A D B A D B A D, or G D, or is this G sustaining this way and then coming down this way? I don't know. I don't have an answer. But those would be things that you get to explore by doing this kind of work, which is really cool. And you do the bass, right? C. Did I already sing the bass? We'll sing the bass one more time. C, E, F, C, E, F, C, F, C, B, A, G, G. And now, putting it all together, this is, for me, where, like, the rhythm comes in. Okay? Where I'm going. sort of takes all those different voices and locks them in together, right? Which we didn't talk about developing, working on rhythm and counting and stuff like that with this, but it is definitely part of it as well. All right, so if you get nothing else from this little workshop for today, memorization is a synthesis of physical, oral, analytical, and visual memory. Strategic and consistent practice builds security in your performance. And for me, sing letter names, developing the visualization aspect along with all the different, along with physically playing the guitar and just keeping your mind open to possibilities, that sort of takes care of everything, right? Again, I think depending on where you are in your process, in your learning process, there's a lot of things that you might have to do first before this stuff starts to be more second nature. But ultimately, it definitely will be. So, yeah, I think. Are there any questions? That was a thing, everybody. Hey, we got through it. Woo! Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go back to the main thing. What's up? So how do we go? Who is coming in? And we just got a raid as I'm doing this? Wow. Hold on. Oh my gosh. We got a raid. Dallas. Is it Dallas Allure Music? Am I saying that right? Thank you for the raid, y'all. Welcome, Raiders. Dallas, a.k.a. Allure. Classical trombone player. Holy. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome, Dallas Arlo. Dallas Arlo. All right. Let me reset my windows, but we are in the middle of our Saturday workshop. So we're not doing any requests, TikTok, at the moment. We just finished up a presentation on memorizing music and that kind of stuff. It's been a while since we chatted. How you been? We've been doing good. So, how was your stream? What were you doing? What were you doing? How was stream? All right, I gotta get my windows all settled here because I was on my iPad. Give me a second here. Whew. All right, no, stop it. All right. Tried MuseScore for the first time, so it was a lot of awesome trombone stuff. Awesome. I am not a huge fan of MuseScore, but I am also not a fan of buying Sibelius for my new computer. So, that, right? Oh. Okay, so we actually just finished talking about memorization, and I was going to field some questions from anybody who has been... Sibelius does not have community scores, no. Not that I know of. I've just been using it for over 12 years, so I know all the shortcuts and everything. Or I know some shortcuts. Oh, we got a question from TikTok. Hold on one second. Got a raid and run? Absolutely. Have a good one, my dude. Throw on a suit and get to a gig. Ah, the gig life. So on TikTok, Brandon is asking on TikTok, how do I progress my guitar playing from a few chords to something more? Ah, that is such a loaded question, in all honesty. So probably the best thing to do, and I hate saying this because this is my go-to answer. I actually don't hate saying it. I just know that people hate hearing it from me. Is you want to get yourself a teacher, okay? Ultimately, what winds up happening is the teacher provides you the curated procedure to accomplish your goals. That's at least how I function as a teacher. And for some students it can be a little jarring because they're used to just like a teacher putting a book in front of them and saying, play this, play this, play this. But it's like, what do you want? What are you looking to accomplish? Here's going to be the systematic way for us to do it. Right? So that's really my answer is get a teacher who can work with you systematically like that. I do offer lessons, both in terms of in person in the state that I live in, but also online. Brandon, if you want to chat with me about it, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. You can shoot me a DM on TikTok or something. Whiskers, I don't think that... So Whiskers said one tact is to simplify chords that are challenging, like leaving some strings out and build from there. That's not what I think he's talking about. He can play some chords and he wants to do more. Whiskers, that sounds like it's the opposite. Yeah, shoot me a message, and we can chat more about it. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, it depends on so many things, and that's why I do like a consultation with students, to find out that information, to find out if I'm going to be a good fit and everything for them. I'm a big proponent of that, though. Big proponent of that. All right. Let's see. Going to the Discord, because I know that we had a question in the Discord that somebody asked. So let's go ahead and check that out. All right. So we got one question. Beautiful investment behind me. Thank you. Indeed. We got one question from Skittles. Skittles, you still in here hanging out with us? He's here. All right. Yeah, that's right. Because not only are we going to be watching your video, but you have a question from earlier in the month. Looking to garner some tips on easing tension in the left hand, specifically in the thumb. Skittles has been hearing, I keep hearing to use gravity, but I'm having trouble with the concept. I'm mostly just pulling back on the neck. So left hand tension, that is a big thing. And I think ultimately I will do a video on developing on what I did for my left hand tension, because I actually recently, in the past handful of years, dealt with it for myself. And so really one of the biggest things is you have to start developing a sensation of what tension is and what playing without tension is, right? And so a really simple exercise that an occupational therapist gave me when I was working on it is, all right, let's take I was just like a note. So like put like a finger down on a note, right? Play it until it's clean, right? Now, as hard as possible, just push into that note and just squeeze, right? Until you can't hold it anymore. And really understand that sensation. Then let go. And then as lightly as possible. There it is. I'm lighter on my left hand than I was when I picked up the guitar to do that note. So that's the first thing. Just getting comfortable with understanding what your body does to get a note out. It takes way less pressure to push down on the neck of the guitar than we think. Okay? Especially with single notes. Single notes can be so easy for us to do, right? However, you know, you can do the same thing with a chord. Like I remember it was Chorus 1 right? Just squeeze that bar so hard, get it, right? All right, hand is tired. Now just nice and light. There we go. All right. And you have to develop that sensitivity. Like, that's the big thing of it, right? Now from there, it all kind of depends on what you're doing. But to answer your question specifically about the idea of using gravity, okay, you want to think of where gravity ultimately is coming from, right? So the arm is not going to go straight down. If we let gravity take the arm, what happens? The arm comes down to the side because the guitar is out in front of us. So that's what's happening, is that as we let this arm come down, allowing gravity to take over, we're leaning the hand into the guitar. And yeah, like, at first it's going to be like the guitar is being pulled this way, right? And you let go. Pulled, let go. Pull, let go, right? And now, ultimately, you want to engage that muscle without that active pull, right? Now, spoilers for that, I let the neck of the guitar come back to me because I use little straps to keep the guitar in place, right? And suction cups and stuff like that. So that's how I got around it to where I can use my arm, my back, and let things hang appropriately without, using the thumb to squeeze and go through that. But you are using back muscles. You're using back muscles, you're using biceps, stabilizing muscles as well. And then it's a counterbalance here where you want to use a counter pressure to prevent the guitar from doing this, right? And so for me, the solution ultimately was to have the instrument attached in some way, so that way I can apply those forces without the guitar flying all over the place. Any follow-up questions to that, Skittles? Did I answer your question appropriately? I think ultimately I have a whole routine and a whole series that a whole series of exercises that I went through that I think I'm just going to make a video on. Like, just a video on that kind of stuff. Left hand tension and all that kind of stuff. It just feels wrong at this time. It feels wrong because you're used to supporting your thumb through, or you're used to supporting the guitar with your thumb. Absolutely. So when you make technique changes like that, don't think about correct or incorrect. Don't think about what feels right or what feels wrong, what feels good or what feels bad, what feels comfortable or what feels uncomfortable. Those are all the wrong questions to ask yourself. What's the end result that you want? Are you getting closer to that end result? And then you have to program your brain to see that as a positive thing, a positive change, than a negative change, because it feels different. All right. Any other questions? Before we go, I'm just looking in the Discord real quick. All right, we got one more question in the Discord. This is from Rolf. I'm gonna pop this. Rolf, are you here? Let me know if you're in chat. Yep, still here. Awesome, love it. All right. Great presentation. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. All right, I'm pulling up your visual from the Discord. Here we go. Oh, is it going to be super tiny? That's what she said. Sorry. Oh, it's going to be blurry. Blurry AF. That's okay. All right. Oh, wait, maybe not. Oh, no, it's not bad. All right, cool. Here we go. So, oh my God, this thing is an absolute mess. So, here's what I'm going to say about this thing that I'm going to put up here. This is the reason why you don't let people make like transcriptions and shit. This is the problem with like using Guitar Pro. Okay? So let's put this up. Move these up as well. Okay. Here we go. Jeez, this thing. All right. All right. So it's in drop D. So I don't know about you, but I immediately say vertifuge. This whole thing. Oh, it's white though. Hold on. Oop. Let's make that red. Like that. That's not it. What is going on here? Nope. Excuse me. Why can't I color this the color that I want? There we go. All right. So this whole thing. There are more notes than strings here. So what's going on? Okay. First of all, I don't know how this came up as notes. I really don't. That's not within the guitar register at all. Okay. Ignore every single one of these. And you go based off of this. Okay. So now the thing that sucks about this is that it really doesn't tell you where things are. But they're just, it's a chord that's like this, up. And I don't know how one would, is it just like, is it a tap or something? But it's just you hold down this chord. It's just that. Okay. But I don't know how they're getting it to come out. They're doing some kind of, based off of what I'm seeing here, it's some kind of like sweep that where you want to get this sound. So I'm not sure. But that's just really bad writing. Because they probably entered this in, put in artificial harmonics, and then that came up. All of that mess. So that's probably how that happened. Because they're entering in tablature, they're not entering in the notes. Yeah, the writing is just bad. Whoever made that, if you paid for it, ask for your money back. That's what I would say. That's just me though. I'd be interested to know like the like what video it came from. But just at looking at it, like, you know. Let's see if I can find the video very quickly. All right. What was the piece called again? There we go. Dion's. Oh. We should be purchasing Dion's music. We should not be using somebody who tabs it. All right, let's see. Hold on 1 second. What? That ending isn't even in there. No, that ending's not in there. She's not playing it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think you're not using the actual edition. And I think that's the problem, personally. Yeah, I see exactly where it's coming from, and and the person, music by, it's an adaptation by Roland Dion's, and tabbed by Nessuno. He doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know what, no. Here's the actual music. Hold on. The problem is that you're not using the actual music. That is the problem. Okay. So right there, that is the problem, is that you're not using an actual the actual published sheet music by Dion's. Not because, besides the fact that, one, it's under copyright and we should be paying for sheet music and stuff. Where's a solid source? Dion's version that I may or may not have procured. This is it. All right. So now, can anybody read French? Because I can't. First of all, they're not at the 12th fret. This is at the, is that the 10th fret? Not 10th fret, 20. It's the 24th fret. So it should be like here. So like, something like that. Now, this is interesting. Let's keep the journey going. Oh, look at that! There are people that are on the interwebs. All right, let's keep the journey going here. Does Dion's himself play it? I want to see Dion's playing it. If there's a video of him doing it. There it is. All right, let's watch. Yeah, all he's doing is this. I can't do it. That might have also been the video that Rolf sent in too. What I hear is... I hear just the top three. And he's not doing the lower notes either. He's doing that. Man, all right. Because he's not getting all the strings. I did do it. You are right. It's like he's like doing... He also can flatten out his finger. Go back slightly. All right, hold on. Head on. Now I'm where's the playback speed? Here we go. Boop. Oh, balls. Is he moving? Yeah, if you look at his finger, he's got really, let's see. Like, he can, like, really bend that joint back, and, like, he's getting everything. But something like that. Oh. That is insane. No, it's not his pinky. Matiko, thank you for the follow on YouTube. Much appreciated. So that's what he's doing, and it's just the top, like I said, it's just the top three strings. So there's probably a reason why nobody does the ending that way, and I don't think it's because they're confused. It's because it's a pain to do. All right. Okay, we've got one more. We've got... So, any other questions? Yeah, I mean, like, actually looking at it, that I don't know what was going on with the bass stuff. In the actual version, it's just the top three are harmonic, so he's catching the top three strings. That makes sense. But yeah, I have no clue. I would say rip off what somebody else is doing. What did they do? Or whatever they were doing. So, my pleasure taking a look at it. Absolutely. And he's definitely doing something like weird with his index finger, and he's got like really weird lanky fingers that I do not have. And also it's interesting that's taken, I wonder, I mean, this is where understanding that Dion's does a lot of improvisation and will change things up in his performances and stuff because they're his arrangements that he created. Like, I wonder how often he would actually do it that way. Ethan, do I play much Mertz? I have, like, a Mertz that I play every once in a while. Okay, so any other questions about classical guitar or anything? Could be like a technique thing, could be a musical thing. Before we shift over and do our video feedback, our video reviews. We had one submission this month for our video feedback, and we're about to go and take a look at it. I don't play that, Ethan. Sorry. I have a song list. If you're interested in seeing what I play, you can check out the song list. All right. Before we go, let's put it over here. Oh, nope, no. All right, let's close that out. Let's bring this here. We'll bring this up here. All right. Skittles, your video is up, my dude. All right. Oh. All right. There he is. Skittles. All right. Well, let's put that over here for all of us to watch. There we go. Okay. So, Skittles, my question to you is there anything specific that you are looking to have addressed in the video? Or just general points? And as I'm watching, you can answer that. Now you get to see all that I get inundated with. So that was 18. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, musical stuff. It would be. I would say this. I would say this. You need to analyze the piece and you need to understand the piece more. You need to know you need to understand what is happening in the piece. where the melody is, how the melody interacts with the harmony, and all that kind of stuff. So I would just say, in general, more study of the piece needs to be done. Which is going to require you not to be using the guitar. With that said, though, and that's actually, like, I hate to say this is the self-promotion part of it. These are the skills that I deliberately work on in my cohort. Is that command still work? No, of course not. Why would it? But the, let's see, can I... there we go. Boom. So this thing. So signing up for the waitlist, but this is the cohort. This is all of what the cohort is about. Like, in all honesty, you got a small little glimpse into that stuff. But if that's something that, if that kind of stuff is something that you want more directed work with, and a community where we're all working on that together, that's what the cohort is about. Okay, technique-wise, let's go ahead and let's watch again, because honestly, I'm unfamiliar with this study. I'm like, why does this sound like the B minor study, other than that it is in B minor? So, probably, one thing that I would, the most stationary, I mean, actually, the right hand technique does not look bad whatsoever. All right. My only commentary on the right hand is that pinky. That pinky. Mr. Snow, how you doing? That pinky needs to learn to move with the ring finger. Easiest way to develop that. I don't have one with me, but get a hair tie. Maybe you have a hair tie. You have some longer hair. Connect ring finger and pinky together. Train the pinky to move with the ring finger. Train the ring finger and the pinky to move with M when needed. So that is something that I would definitely be looking at. The other thing, I mean, hand position looks good, right? It's a little bendy in the wrist for me. It's okay. You are really twisted in your upper body. You're like this when you play. Okay? So really work on getting your shoulders to be even with your hips, right? Bring the guitar neck out this way. But I can see you're very much like this, which is one of the reasons why you're squeezing the thumb between the neck of the guitar. And then... Oops. It looks like that there's a lot of restricted movement in the fingers. Like, you're not letting the fingers move into the hand. Like, for a piece like this, and especially the amount of as slow as it is, right? Whoa, that's not the right note. I wouldn't do IMA here. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I would definitely be doing PIM. And I would look at a different fingering for that change. Probably a hinge bar. And I'd probably do a little bit of experimenting with some fingerings. A lot of the fingerings that at least I have in the version that I have, wow. Which seems to be what you're doing. Yeah, like some of the fingerings I don't necessarily dislike, but I would want to have some more fingerings. I would want to have more fingerings that allow me to keep things ringing over rather than stopping lots of stuff. Like you hear how everything stops there, whereas if I do a bar here or a hinge bar, I can do that, and I can let that ring, and it's going to sound better, less dry, right? And then there, I would do a little mini, like a compression. And same thing here. Rather than having to jump that second finger, that's awkward. Then you can jump to the C sharp here. Whoop, that's not... Wonder where all your tension is coming from. Definitely, I don't know if that's a sarcastic question or like your question, but definitely the upper body, definitely doing this, right? Right hand looks pretty darn good. Again, sarcasm for sure, fair enough. But I think just some of the fingerings are a little cumbersome. And I don't blame you, I would just, what I'm looking for is, it's very easy to make this sound really blech. And let the left hand move a whole lot more, right? By making those shifts, that's what you want to do. Let's go back to the full screen here, bloop, right? Oh my God, I'm going to do this and look at it from here. Well, I mean, not for nothing, but the actual music isn't all that better. So I wouldn't worry about that part, but yeah. Try and get the music if you can. All right. I want you to watch my left hand, though, as I play this. Oh, we're going to do this. You ready for it? Zoop. Zoop. Oh, look at that left hand, like, goodness. Hold on. There we go. Or actually this way. Balls. Hold on, let's try this again. This is not in, like, the peripherals where I need it to be. which is part of the problem. All right, let's fix that. That's not right. A little bit too much. That does not work. All right. Here we go. I did it again. So that's me not really holding the guitar properly, trying to make sure that you could see my left hand. But I don't know if you saw what was going on, but there was lots of left hand little micro adjustments in the thumb. Rather than doing squeezy tightening thingies, I'm letting that hand make those changes. And that's what's kind of going on there. Does that make sense, Skittles? But I think overall the playing is pretty good. I think you just need to get out of the notes. I think you need to do some analysis on it. I think you need to look at it, do a harmonic analysis, understand where your voices are, like all those things that we talked about, the things that you need to know when you're working on a piece of music, right? And go from there. Again, that's what the cohort is all about. In my cohort, I go into really, really explicit detail onto all of that stuff, and provide examples. Actually, in the next version of the cohort, I'm going to provide actual musical excerpts for the participants to do every week. So that's going to be a refinement that I make to the cohort, all while you're working on a project piece, you know. So that's what's going on. So the cohort will open up again in August, and it'll open in, I think, mid-August. It'll start open again in the beginning of August, and then starts enrollment, and then starts in September. It's hard for me to remember all this stuff going on. All right. With all that said, I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break. I might have to stop stream. I will let you know. But Jersey called me. Little Shred is not feeling good, so I got to figure out what's going on. So we're going to go on break very quickly, and if I don't need to pick her up or anything, then I will come back and we'll practice. If I do need to pick her up, I'll come back and we'll raid out. So I'll let you know as soon as possible. I'm going to go make the phone call right now. Yes, Dad first, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Be right back, y'all. All right. Heard back from Jersey. Kid is getting picked up. I am the one doing the picking of the upping. So we got to cut stream early. Bummed about it because I was going to plan on practicing and I had the whole weekend to myself. But kiddo needs to come home. She's not feeling good. So let's go see who we're going to go raid. That's not what I was... Hello, Rocky. Merle. Alright. Matt Gaddy seems to still be on. Unless he's going to, no, okay. Let's go to Matt Gaddy. All right. I will be back Monday. That's not how you spell the word schedule. I will be back Monday with more practice. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Successful workshop. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. Yes. So next week, or not next week, but next month, which is going to be the end of this month, really, we are going to we're going to complete the memorization and memorization aspect with some process, with a procedure of how you can incorporate memorization into your practice and what that kind of looks like in terms of practice. And that'll sort of wrap up this ultimately 2-stream workshop. Rocky. But Monday we will be back with more practice. Again, you can join the Discord. You can put in your submissions for big topic questions and or your own playing reviews. I'd love to hear y'all play. If you've already done a playing review, you're more than welcome to submit a new one. Skittles, let me know how that stuff goes with what we had talked about in terms of, changing some of the fingering in there, getting your body a little bit more oriented, right? Let me know how that works out for you, as you keep working on it. So certainly you can follow up with another video and things like that. Music is available here. Lessons are here. The cohort is there. And then membership. So people who are subscribers to me on Twitch or on TikTok, if you're a member through the Fourth Wall membership, if you're a subscriber on TikTok, if you're a subscriber on Twitch, I think I already said that, you will have access to the slides from today as well as my notes, and those will be available for you. Also, anybody who is a private who takes private lessons with me will also have that information available to them. So you'll be able to print it out, download it, do what you need to look at it and use it to help you out with your practice. Every workshop, any of the slides, any of the handouts that I create, any of the examples that I create, go to members, go to subscribers on Twitch and TikTok, and go to my private lesson students and people from the Practice Academy. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be posted in the appropriate places on the Discord, in the subscriber areas. All right. Let's figure this out now. We're gonna go see Matt. Hold on, there's a Pokemon. Do I have that one? Apparently I do. So here are our raid calls. We're gonna go see Matt Diggetti. Rocky! Alright. Matt Gaddy is a bass player and musician on Twitch. However, right now he's playing Granny Simulator, which is hilarious. So we're going to go over there and say hi to him, see how he's doing. You all have a wonderful rest of your evening and weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.